He's a killer, Raheem Sterling. Like, I played with Raheem at Liverpool. I saw him come through. You know, but he's a remarkable human. He's rough around the edges. And I think, but when you break it down and you look at how well he conducts himself and holds himself, he's someone we should be proud of, like Definitely. We're proud of Harry Kane.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Hello and welcome to the All to Play For Euro 2020 post-match podcast with me, a very croaky Lynsey Hipgrave, and you, Joe Cole. And Joe, you managed to get the golden ticket.
I did, Lynsey. It weren't till the day before the game where I got the ticket, buzzing, took my two boys, and just like, they've been to football before, but they ain't been to football, if you know what I mean, because they've been, when it's sort of half full, where they've been to like, maybe like apart from my son at the Champions League final, obviously, but the other one, he hasn't been properly. Do you know what I mean? So he's like, I walked down Wembley Way, people was just singing, dancing, beer was being thrown, and they absolutely loved it. They were singing the songs, got them in the stadium, and they're 5 and 8, the boys. So like 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds could, you know, not really, they watched every minute of the game and they was engaged. The shirts are off when we scored. And when we scored the goal, I got a bit emotional, a bit choked up. So I've just grabbed them and we hugged and we were like, and they were so excited.
Yeah.
And they just absolutely it was probably one of my best moments I've had with my kids, sharing that with them. Because I think it'll be one of their earliest memories. It was
They'll remember it forever, won't they?
It felt poignant the whole day. I've said this from the moment when we've been going back to football after lockdowns and seeing people. Everyone sort of felt was just appreciated being there, appreciating each other. The atmosphere was charged when we like walking down Wembley Way, and I think the whole experience sharing it with my two boys was because I can remember walking down Wembley Way, watching England as a kid, you know, and feeling that excitement, whether it be for England or whether FA Cup finals. So walking down with my boys and seeing them so excited. So when the goals went in and I grabbed them, it just blew me away. It was just amazing. And even in the corporate, we was in a slightly corporate area and everyone was singing and dancing and it was amazing, Lynsey. It really was. I felt lucky to be there.
Magical.
It was. That's the word I would use. Magical.
It was almost exactly like you predicted it as well on our last show. The first time since 1966 that we've knocked Germany out of a major tournament as well. Just to describe a bit more that atmosphere on the final whistle.
It's carnival-like, you know, like the last few months, obviously with the Champions League final and now this, I feel I've been to 2 games which I think will live heavily in the memories of the supporters. And it felt there was relief. There was almost a sense of disbelief. You know, he's trying to explain to my boy why we're rivals with Germany in the car on the way. There was
good luck with that one.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. You know, you had to go through the history lesson and you know, tread carefully because you know you want them to grow up as understanding. I quickly just got the Three Lions song on and started singing that because I didn't know what to say. But yeah, I mean, it just felt perfect. And when Harry scored the goal, it just felt right. It just come together. And afterwards, I went back up into the box afterwards and looking down at where the families were, and I could see the families were there hanging around, and they were sort of talking to the players in front of the press. And I was thinking to myself, that's probably the only time they're going to get to see their loved ones playing on the pitch. And that because obviously the lockdown bubble, the special circumstances, and all the families were united. And I just remember going back to my times playing these tournaments, even though all their families, it's a great experience for them. You know, and you see them sort of seeing their kids, you know, it was so surreal watching it all unfold. And I'm just lucky that I had probably one of the best seats in the house to see it. So yeah, very lucky.
Definitely. I don't think I've ever celebrated a goal as much as that first one that went in. I didn't realise how much I'd been affected growing up by those defeats to Germany and stuff, but it was clearly a lot because the way that first goal made me feel was just hard to describe.
Yeah. So much. Do you know what it is, Lynn's, right? And without getting too deep on the matter. I think as human beings, we all want to connect with the team, or you want to connect with something, and something that bonds us so much divides us now. We've got this campaign, that campaign, and different views, left wing, right wing, all the different things that divide us. And the one thing that brings us all together is football. Grandfathers, fathers, sons, friends. We argue over it. We fight. We celebrate. We cry. We laugh. And I think that's what it is. I think just the whole country needed something that united us. And I think last night in particular, I think that was it. Because I was walking down Wembley Way and I saw you see people of all colours and creeds, different religions, and everyone was just getting on, And Wembley, as much as people who don't know London might listen to this, Wembley isn't a really highbrow part of London. Wembley's London. Wembley's Wembley's
London.
Where I'm from. Yeah, Wembley's like everyone's there and everyone's involved, and it was just a special, poignant game, and I've just thought, I'm just so glad that we've had that and we've had that day. So it was just amazing.
The person responsible as well for uniting us and getting that connection again with the players and with the fans is Gareth Southgate, because he just leads that team with so much class and dignity, doesn't he? And he's had a lot of criticism, especially going into that game, people questioning his tactics, his formation, the players he's leaving out, but he keeps silencing those critics.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think that's all of the people, Gareth, Harry Kane, Raheem, Jordan Pickford, Harry Maguire, John Stones, you could list all of them, silencing critics. We operate as footballers in a world where everyone's got to be such a strange world, because I was listening to the people around me, and the people sitting around me were good people, was having a chat. Everyone had a different opinion. This one fella didn't like Raheem Sterling. This other fella didn't like Harry Kane. This one didn't like, and like, so everyone's got an opinion. And Gareth, I think what he said, what he alluded to was he ignored the noise, and he picked a team in each one of these 4 games, and it's been different. Where he's, I still remember his eyes are on the players, and he even knows the players personally. So he's picked a team, he's picked the tactics, and he's got it right 4 times. Now,
but he also knew. He said you're dead, didn't he? If you get it wrong, and that's so much pressure. Yeah,
and that's it. And do you know what? You got to look at Gareth, right? And look at the open letter he wrote to the fans at the start of the tournament. And I think that's the first time, I think, he's very statesman-like, very presidential. And that's the first time he wanted to put across to the fans what it means to him, because when you see him presidential, statesman-like, sometimes he can come across cold, which is what you need in that time. But, he talked about his grandfather, the military, all these things, what it means to be British, and he his journey and what he thought it meant to New England and all the multicultural, and he brought it all together beautifully. I thought I think he allowed himself last night, I think, just a glimmer, just to let, there was and I liked it. I thought, when he said that, I thought, it's like, I've got it right. 4 times, I've got it right. Even against Scotland, which was a difficult game because of the type of game, he's got it right. And everyone around me had a different team, different players who they liked, different systems they would have played. But you have to trust Gareth. You have to trust Gareth. I thought it was beautiful when he talked about David Seaman afterwards as well, and when he said, because as footballers, Linz, you remember games where you've missed. I didn't take penalties. I didn't miss many, but when you miss a chance and you feel like you let your team down, like Gareth, Gareth said, look, we can't take that pain. He looked at David Seaman and said, I can't take the pain away from you.
But he's given them something else and given himself something else to talk about now, and everything's about England and Germany. And I love the fact that he can lay those ghosts to rest now, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive one for him. It was about redemption for him, and he will just, he's very quick, and he was straight on point, on job again. He was talking about the next game and how he was going to prepare and what he was going to do and the different challenges it'll face. But you know what was one thing I think, as a player, and I always said this as a player, I think even more as a media player, we have a responsibility in the media. Yes, we can question, and fans. You know, I'm a fan now. Media, I work in the media, but I'm a fan. I think we can question. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's right for their opinion. But do you know what the fans did yesterday? I thought they left it at the outside, and when they come in, they got behind the team.
Yeah,
and they got behind Gareth. You know, and there's some players out there who ain't been at their best, but you're so important as fans and as just as a country, and how them lads feel. You know what I mean? And I just think that just everyone got it right on the night, and led by Gareth.
I want to talk about Raheem Sterling as well, because you said that people, you know, some people didn't think he should start, but the boy from Brent keeps delivering, doesn't he? A third goal in the tournament so far. What do you think he doesn't get enough respect?
No, he doesn't, Linz. And Raheem's a remarkable person. You know, I played with Raheem at Liverpool. I saw him come through. I saw the talent first and foremost, and he's a quiet lad. Well, he was a quiet lad. He was a quiet kid coming into the team. You know, but he's a remarkable human. He was you know, off the pitch, he's been a father very young. He's been thrust into this role model type position, you know, and he's a kid from London like myself. You know, he's rough around the edges, you know, and I think, but when you break it down and you look at how well he conducts himself and holds himself, he's someone we should be proud of. Like Definitely. We're proud of Harry Kane, you know, Raheem, you know, it's similar to Barnsley. You come on, you know, but you know, Jamaican heritage, come to England, you know, he's a proud Englishman. You see that by the way he plays for England and what it means to him. So we should just be very, very proud of Raheem Sterling. Whether you pick him in your team or you don't pick him, he's in my team. You know,
15 goals in his last 20 appearances for England. I just don't know how people are even questioning it, because he's the one when you just watch him and you just think he can make something happen out of nothing. Yeah,
he can. He drove at he drove at the back three of Germany. He's in form, obviously, you know, them stats, but he just makes things happen. And he comes back. He's ice cold. Like, you know, he's a killer, Raheem Sterling. Like, there's nothing. He goes on a pitch and he does his job, and I think Gareth appreciates that. I think I've said before, I think international football is character before ability, because it's to go out there and I thought the lads last night, for the first 20 minutes, if ever a game was about your mentality, riding out a storm, you know, getting the shackles off, you know, and I think Gareth, when he picked his team, I think what lads are going to get me through that first 20 minutes, because them boys, they're all affected by the ghosts of, you know, they've grown up seeing us, you know, stumble in these games and not go right, and moments not go for us, and it can get into your DNA, and you're something like, so that he needed them characters. So every one of them lads on that pitch showed immense character, immense fortitude, because the Germans in the first 20 minutes, I was like,
we couldn't get the ball, could we? And no. I just thought this is all going to go wrong.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Tuesday. This is why you love international football. Thursday. The best ever goalless draw. Saturday. These guys might be underdogs, but you wouldn't miss this match. Every match day matters. So every time you collect 3 match day stamps, you get a £5 free bet. Match day rewards from Coral.
Saka, I thought, was the one who really started to rock them and helped us get back into the game.
Spot on. And he would have been one that, although he was brilliant last game, you know, people were calling for Jack and calling for Phil from the start. But Saka and Raheem, either side of Harry, I think they complemented him. Saka was just... And by the way, he's running at Rudiger as well. Yeah. Probably, arguably, the best defender in Europe over the last 6 months since he's come back into the Chelsea side. Champions League winner, immense in the final.
But when he won that free kick, you thought he's got in his head now.
Yeah. He's all wrong. Certain players are all wrong, like horses for courses. Saka's all wrong for Rudiger. He's all wrong for a lot of players because he's super talented, but Rudiger needs a physical battle. He needs someone he can just he can go into midfield. And Saka was popping into pockets, turning, dropping his shoulder, driving at him, and Rudiger couldn't sort his feet out. So and I think that put fear in Germany, because Rudiger's their best one-on-one defender, and if he couldn't get to grips with Saka, I think Hummels doesn't want to be isolated, so he's like, I'm going to have to deal with Harry because Rudiger's having to deal with Saka, and he needs help. So I think Saka was put massive doubt in Germany at a point in the game where we needed that to give us an analogy of boxing. We needed to land a glove on Germany at that point, and Saka did that, and he allowed us up the pitch. He was fantastic.
And we should say welcome to the tournament, Harry Kane, as well. You predicted he would score. What's that goal going to do for him and his confidence now going forward?
Massive. I mean, do you know what? That was so interesting, Linz. I'm sitting there around people and they're asking me, should we take Harry or should we take Harry off? And I'm going to be honest, I was like, yeah. And I was like,
yeah.
He wasn't in the game. He wasn't affecting the game.
Everyone in the pub where I was wanted him to come off. And I'm thinking, if this goes to penalties, we need him on the pitch.
Exactly.
But he'd only had 2 touches in half an hour. And you're thinking, what do we do?
Yeah. Exactly, Linz. And Gareth would have been thinking that. I saw him speak to Steve, and to have the composure to say, no, we know what Harry is. We know the next chance is going in. We know, right? He wasn't playing well. He hasn't been at his best. So I had the composure to go with his instinct, to go with his... People were saying some horrible stuff around me about Harry Kane. Absurd stuff. I know probably having a drink and all things like that, but they was... And for Gareth to stick with that and for it to roll out like it did, where Harry Kane's gone bang, goal, it's going to be immense for Harry. It's going to be immense for Gareth.
Yeah.
Because Gareth's going to get confidence in his convictions now even more.
That's why you stick with him, because that's what he can do. Joe, it's a tough one because there were just top performances all over the pitch. But who was your man of the match?
I don't know if I can answer that for you, Linz. I think I'm going to go with Harry Maguire, right? Because I saw him at one point. I've met Harry a few times, never played with him, played against him, recognised the talent early on, recognised the character early on. I thought he'd become a big player for England. I think Harry Maguire stands next to the likes of Tony Adams and Terry Butcher for me now. I think...
What a leader.
A leader. But not only that, Linz, he gets a lot of stick in the media. He's at Manchester United, but he ain't at Manchester United of the noughties or the 90s. He's leading that team. But there was a moment in the game where the crowd started singing his name. His chest puffed out. But Germany were applying pressure. They're putting balls in the box. He was pushing players out of the way to go and put his head and defend things. And it was just like, it was like you was watching like a prime Tony Adams, a prime John Terry, a prime Rio Ferdinand. I'm talking the greats: John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Tony Adams, Terry Butcher. We can't put him next to Bobby Moore because he hasn't lifted any silverware yet, but he's standing next to yet. Exactly. He's standing next to him, and you're just like, I was watching him and you can only be inspired. I was like, wow.
And whose place is in jeopardy? That's hard because I don't know anyone who played badly. No one.
Again, like the Czech game, nobody's place is in jeopardy, Linz, but I think against the Ukraine, it'll revert back to a 4 because I think you're going to have to find a space for Jack to come into the side now. He's been knocking on the door.
Does he have to start in that game?
Not does he have to start. I think that the team warrants him, tactically it warrants him. I think the Ukraine will dominate possession. I don't think they got too much speed in behind to worry about. So I think he'll go with Shaw, Walker, 2 centre-halves, and I think Jack comes into the midfield. So who misses out? Who misses out? Gosh. So you're going to have Rice and Phillips in there. I think you'll go Sterling, Kane, Jack, Mount or Saka. probably sack him. You can't take the lad out. But so who comes out? I've done the team. Who comes out?
I don't know. Who can you take out? It's brilliant that we've got these options, but I don't envy Gareth.
I think Trippier comes out. Nothing to do with how he performed. I just think a change of formation. I think we get an extra body in midfield, someone who can play on the half turn and get it in little pockets.
The set pieces were much better with him there, though, weren't they?
Yes, again, and he might be Kyle Walker who misses out, but Kyle Walker's defending has been outstanding.
Yeah.
You know, you go back 5 years and there was question marks about his concentration levels. He's had 4 games and he's been pitch perfect. And there's been moments in each of them games where he's so I think he'll take out Kyle or Trips. Nothing on performance, just a change of shape, just to get Jack into the pockets, because we will hold more of the ball against the Ukraine and we'll have to break them down.
Well, Joe, England now 2-1 favourites to win the whole tournament with Coral, and Sterling 13-2 with Coral to finish the top goal scorer as well. And the Ukraine look knackered as well after playing extra time. So how are you feeling about how this draw's looking for us now?
Well, listen, you've got to be truthful, and you've got to say the draw's opened up for us, hasn't it? I think the Ukraine will be, I don't want to, listen, they're a good side with world-class players, and any team you play at this stage of the tournaments, again, it's going to be a tough game. But having said that, if you'd have asked me to list 4 or 5 teams realistically you could play in a quarter-final, the Ukraine would have been one of them. Shevchenko, ex-teammate of mine as a manager, inexperienced manager in that sense. I think they're there for the taking, but this is football. We can't be complacent. The lads have to bring that same energy, but I can't see a problem with us. But I'm going to watch the Ukraine later because I missed the most of the game, just to make sure the next time we chat, I can back up them convictions. I've seen them once. I've seen them 1.5 games, and I've not seen enough to think where we'll be in any way overly concerned. We just have to do our job and do it well. We'll win the game.
The whole of the group of death have now been seen off. Even I want to get carried away now, Joe. It's coming home, isn't
Linz,
it?
do you know what? If you're getting carried away, we need to get worried. You are. If we was a coaching staff, you'd be my guy, my person to go to. Where I'm like, you're the what if guy, Linz. You're like, well, what if Ukraine play well? What if happens? You're the person who brings us down into realism. Yeah, I'm worried if you're not keeping a lid on it. I'm worried about it. And I know that
definitely
we've all
not.
The
lid's off. The lid's been blown off, Joe. It was blown off last night. Thank you so much, as always. Great to see you. Thank you,
Good to
everyone,
see you, Lids,
for listening as well. We're going to be back tomorrow as well in the pub in the All to Play For Arms Zone. Another pub is definitely not what I need right now, but we're going to have.
Liz, are we going to talk about you putting your rock star husband to bed last night?
Oh,
with
you don't even want to know.
Does that make the podcast?
I had to take his shoes off last night, so we can talk about that. I haven't seen him yet this morning. It's going to be interesting. So we're back in the pub tomorrow. We've got former England winger Trevor Sinclair with us as well as we look forward to that quarter final. You can find us on the Joe YouTube channel or wherever you find your podcast. You've been listening to the All to Play For podcast with Lynsey Hipgrave and Joe Cole.
You've been watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.